Welcome to the Fat2Fit HQ podcast. I'm your host, Carol Salva of the Firearms Radio Network. And along with me is Nick Humphries of Practically Tactical. Say hi, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Carol.
You're welcome. Oh, I have to finish. In this podcast, we are chronicling our journeys from fat to fit. We talk about pursuing a healthier lifestyle, not only in diet, but in all areas of life. And there's some intro music that I'll lay over that. You know how it goes, right, Nick?
Yep.
How are you doing?
Really good. Busy times around the Humphries household, so gearing up for the adoptions and then the holidays and of course Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Hunting season just wrapped up, so yeah, it's been hectic times. How about you?
Oh, I know what that's like. I know what that's like. I'm having a very hectic life. I've been studying. I went back to school, so I'm halfway through a program that is insanely. It's just taken up more of my time than I thought, and my job changed, and so that's taken up a lot of time too. And my kids have decided that they want a life and they want to be doing things too. So
Oh,
we're letting them, and it's just busy, busy, holidays and everything.
no, I know exactly what it is. My wife is as she wraps up her masters this month or
Oh, I'm so
December.
jealous.
So yeah, getting to that point though was pretty brutal.
It is brutal. I'm halfway through. It's brutal.
Working plus yeah, that is so time consuming, and then she had clinical. Yeah, I can imagine that the amount of time you're spending is crazy.
So to say that, it's been the excuse that I've had for the last 9 months of just kind of letting things go. I held it together pretty good for a while. I just didn't do as many shows, and I was still eating okay, and then I stopped working out, and that kind of, if I'm not even walking or doing anything like that, I don't really care about the eating as much, and everything just kind of goes off the rails. And now we're going into the holidays, and I was telling you before we started the show that I hadn't put out a show in a couple months, but I just kind of hit a rock bottom a couple weeks ago, and I put out a show, just being honest, but I made some commitments to do some really minor things that really just to get my head back in the game. It's going pretty well. I did some very, very, very simple things, like I was going to start logging what I eat again, and I was going to try to commit to get to the gym or do something like twice a week. And that's just kind of spiraled into making me feel better. And it's really, really lame. I go to the gym and I say I'm only going to do 4 exercises and then I'm getting the hell out of here because I don't want to go. And so I make that deal with myself that I'm just going to do 2 upper body, 2 lower body, 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets, and go home. And I do, and because it's not such a beat down, I'm doing it more often. I'm doing it every other day. But it's really not the calorie burn or even the muscle build. It's that it makes me feel like I'm doing something. So then I'm eating a little better. Everything's looking up a little bit over here, Nate.
Well,
Tell
good.
me, tell me why you wanted to do this show, because I just bared all my vices.
Oh, don't worry. After I describe everything that I don't do, you're gonna feel much better about yourself. No, I really, really got to get in fit, especially too when you have a show that talks about like self-defense and firearms.
Yeah.
And like we just had Aaron Cowan of Sage Dynamics on the show, and we were kind of talking about like force on force stuff. But he says, which is a big like stress inoculation. So how do you perform under stress? Because that's a big part of the firearms instruction. And it's like I was like, well, with firearms training, a lot of it is what do you do when you go home? What can you take what you learned and then process that into your life? He was like, the number one thing is fitness. He's like, if you don't have enough stamina, you're not in shape, you're gonna know it right away.
Tell me who this guy is again.
Aaron Cowan of Sage Dynamics.
Okay.
He's also he's a firearms instructor. He's also a police officer, and he has a fantastic blog. He's a very straightforward and honest guy. He doesn't have a lot of fluff to him, so. But awesome guy. We'll have him back on the show soon. But that's kind of the main point of I really got to get in shape. Plus on top of the kids and all that stuff.
You got a lot of kids.
And,
you got to be in shape for all those kids, Nate.
Yeah. Well, and actually kind of something too, which really I think is pushing the the envelope for me is, we talked about doing the show, and then I think like a week or so ago, and then it would have been on Saturday I went out deer hunting with my brother-in-laws, and I probably didn't walk 5 miles.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I did. I'll say 10 miles. But it was hard stuff because you're walking through waist high grass that's been stamped down by snow, and got hot and sweaty. Blah blah blah. Like the next day, I felt so terrible.
Really?
Yes, I felt so terrible. Like I physically felt ill, like because I probably had like worked out. And I think that's like how bad of shape that I am in. And so that's kind of really been on the back of my mind. I lost like I think I weighed myself out. Just that day I lost like 4.5 pounds. Like,
just from walking.
Just from that day.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. You need to get out there.
Well,
but that's kind of a lot to do all at once if you've been inactive for a while, right?
Define a while.
Let's back up real quick, because I know a lot of our listeners know who you are. But just in case, because not all of our listeners are Firearms Radio Network listeners, so you're one of our sister shows. And I like your show because the way you describe it is like more of an honest, down to earth, practically tactical, right?
little play on words.
Well, and so you're not saying you're an expert. You're saying you're learning, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Tell me more about your show. It's usually a round table, right?
Yeah, we usually will feature one or more guests. Every 10 shows, I tell you, every 10 shows is a tactical train wreck. So you gotta plan on those. Usually 40, 50, 60 in a couple months we usually get a bunch of guys on and just have a crap show, for another word. But it's fun. It's fun to death. But no, a lot of it is, to tell my story was, we talked about beforehand. Me and my wife have done foster care now for 4 or 5 years.
That's great.
And I grew up around guns, hunted, all that type of stuff, and kind of got out of it, when you find women and beer. And so
we were in it.
Yeah. So it all came back about to where actually the little guy that we're adopting, in the beginning of the process, the county cleared this new boyfriend that background check cleared him. To come to my house and be involved in everything, and he had a felony drug and weapons charges together.
Oh.
And I was like, that was not cool, and so I was like, well, we got to get a gun for self-defense, because I don't know what this crazy guy's gonna do, and so that ended up starting this whole crazy thing of a YouTube channel and now podcasting and all this stuff.
Really? That's how it all started.
That's how it all started.
Wow.
I was up late all night, like watching like Nut and Fancy and Hickok 45 videos. If there's any gun YouTubers listening out there, they totally know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I even know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And so then I was just, after that, I started like watching some shows on YouTube, because there's other shows out there, and just turned into, hey, I want to get firearms instructors on and talk to them.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where it all kind of started, and it's been this crazy, absolute fun ride, and I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Through this part, and the biggest thing I like to tell people is, I'm a way more confident person now, not because I carry a gun every day and everywhere. It's more of that mindset type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can get me the mindset on the fitness and health part.
It's totally a mindset. I know it is. No, your show's wildly successful, so congratulations. You're doing.
I don't know about that.
Well, you are. You're gangbusters, because I keep seeing you up in the iTunes charts and stuff, and so that's fantastic. But I always liked your show from the beginning when you joined the network, because you did seem very down to earth, and it's very similar to our show, where we don't claim to be the expert. We're learning, and it's this journey, and when we can have somebody who's, quote, an expert in some area of health or fitness on the show, then we do. And we've had a lot of crossover people who are very fit, and also very or know something about fitness, and then are also in the firearms world somehow. And so it's interesting. It's just an interesting crossover, but it's definitely a journey over here. So we're up and down and up and down, and so I don't see any end. I don't see that we're gonna get to our goal and the show will be over, because we never have. Some of us, I'm trying to think, because Jake and Zach Carlson started, Jake Challen and Zach Carlson started this show a long time ago, and they took quite a while trying to get to goal. I think Jake got to goal and stayed there a while, what he wanted as his goal. And then also the guy that does it with me now, his name is JT. We met him at an NRA show. He had been listening to Firearms Radio Network. He's a big gun guy, and he lost about 35 pounds when he found our show and listened to our show for a while. He stayed listening to the other Firearms Radio Network shows, but he started listening to this, and we turned him on to some other shows, and he lost like 35 pounds. And he came and he met us at the NRA show in Houston, and then like 6 months later, he'd lost another 40 pounds. And so this guy's lost 75 pounds, and it's just incredible. So, like I said, there's a bunch of crossover, and he'll tell you, his hunting is, it's a huge part of how effective I think you can be with your firearms, whether it's competitively or that self-defense thing you were talking about. Tell us a little more about what that guy that was on. Tell me his name one more time.
It's Aaron Cowen, so Aaron Cowen with Sage Dynamics, SAGE Dynamics.
We'll put the link. You had him on your show recently, right?
Yep. Yeah. And we were talking about force-on-force training. So for those that might not be familiar with force-on-force, so it's kind of like a role-playing scenario to try to be more realistic. So you basically have Glock 17s that are modified to shoot, for lack of a better term, ballistic paintballs.
Okay.
Slightly more realistic than an actual paintball.
Oh.
And so what he does is he puts you through realistic situations of you're walking out of a grocery store to your vehicle and someone's there, or you're at an ATM and you get jumped, or different types of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and
you pay him?
Yeah, I know. But an interesting thing is a lot of the situations he sets up with different people doing it are no-shoot situations, because you never want to shoot in a no-shoot situation. Oh. So there's a lot of, you have to basically process a lot of information. But in those situations to where it's not a no-shoot situation, when you get that stress inoculation, your body reacts completely different. When you got adrenaline pumping, you got stress on your body, you're basically become a different person physically. And he says, and the big thing again we talked about with firearms training is, you go take these classes to do repeat stuff later. It's not you take the class and that's the end of it. It's you do this to where you take it home and you can practice it.
Oh.
That's what we're talking about. What do you walk away with from a force-on-force? Because it's kind of more of a mental thing. What can you take home and practice? He said, right away you're gonna walk away with knowing what your deficiencies are physically. He said you're gonna know right away, because those become really at play in a stress inoculant situation. So,
wow.
If you don't got the legs, or you got weak arms, we'll say, and that stress in that blood, everything's pumping, and you got to try to put shots on target, and your body's just not physically there, you're not going to perform, in a dangerous situation like, we probably all think we do. Yeah, it was a really interesting conversation.
No, I bet that's true. That has to be true. I mean, it's so mental, the whole thing about even just hitting what you want to hit. Or not, like you said, or just having your wits about you. I can't remember who we had on the show. That was the first gun guy we had on the show that just brought up the point of getting up out of bed. If you hear something in the middle of the night, you want to get up and get to your firearm and be ready and be alert, but be able to jump out of bed if you need to. And if you're not, if you're not fit enough to do that and still be, like you said, with everything that you need to have on.
Yeah.
Your wits about you, your muscles, your legs, everything.
Yeah, if you get winded going up the stairs, it's probably not a good sign.
Good night. your example, your real life example too of hunting, that's a sport where you're not just riding around in a Jeep and stuff. You have to walk, you have to track these things, and then even if you hit something, getting it back.
Yeah, you got to drag it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was a real kick, because I don't think I've ever been like. That's when you're truly unfit, is just walking. I mean, it was hard work Don't get me wrong, but that's when you know that I don't know how much I walked. It's probably only a couple miles, but the next day when you're so out of shape and your body is like feeling so terrible that you physically feel sick exercising.
Not sore good from a great workout, kind of
No.
bad. No.
Well, for me, there's never any good sore.
Come on. Come
But
on.
for me, it's and actually I should I don't have the email offhand, but one of your listeners that listens to both of our shows actually emailed me. I think it was from Aaron's show, or
It might have been Arturo.
yes, it was Arturo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Arturo told me he was going to get you on the show. He's awesome.
Yeah, so he emailed me, and I can't remember if he was listening to Aaron's episode or 2 episodes before that. Jeff Bludwin from Arm Dynamics challenged me to go to try to take daily, or weekly, like Krav Maga or some type of classes to do stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet, but he was like, hey, I know you talked about this on one of your shows, and you need to go onto you'll have to explain the app stuff to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, get on there, and here's my ID, and we'll get on there. So I've committed that tonight I'll download the app.
Awesome.
And December I'll go at it.
Okay, here's the thing, Nick. This is what we're doing. Okay, now, and I'm speaking from experience because people tell me I'm obsessed, and it's true. I know I'm obsessed because I know that as soon as I stop thinking about it all the time, as soon as I say, okay, forget it, I'm gonna relax, and I'm not gonna track, and I'm not gonna do. My head's not in the game anymore, and boom, weight comes back fast. It comes back really fast. So one of the things that I've found, and Arturo's right there with me, I think, and it's this whole community thing. Like the people in our real world may or may not support whatever you're doing for diet or exercise or whatever, and that's the thing, is that if that's all the especially when you have kids. I mean, it's hard to. I don't feed my kids total crap, but I can't eat what they eat, and I can't sit there like I used to and finish what they don't eat and all of that. So it's much better for me to have this virtual world community of people who are going to be encouraging, or I can just read what they're doing today, and that's encouraging. It just kind of helps me keep my head in the game. Just checking in. That's one thing. Because see, the app that we're talking about, the MyFitnessPal app that I think Arturo told you about and I wrote you about, there's 2 different ways to use that. Do you have an iPhone?
Samsung.
Okay, well the app may work on Samsung. I know it's myfitnesspal.com is free. If you just log into your computer, you can get in there every day, and one of the things that you can do is just log your food. Just log everything that you eat. That alone makes a huge difference. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. For me, it's because I'm not aware. If I'm just mindlessly snacking, or I try to log after, way after I eat, it's just it just makes a difference, just that awareness of what you're eating. You might make a little bit better choices, but when you go through it, it kind of asks you what your goals are, and how, if you want to lose weight, or what do you want to eat each day. Kind of take that with a grain of salt, because it doesn't know how, I don't even think it asks you how tall you are and stuff. It's just numbers, but you may have kind of an idea of where you want to be calories wise. But one of the reasons that we use it is partly because of calories, but the other part is because a lot of us are trying not to have a ton of carbohydrates. We're trying not to have a ton of just empty calories, like bread and pasta and stuff like that isn't going to give you a lot of nutrients. And so the app is real cool that it'll tell you how much fat, protein, and carbs you've had today, kind of thing. And so without getting way too deep into it, it'll track everything for you. It'll track how much water, and it'll, you can track whatever you want in there. So it's a really neat little gadget to kind of, for awareness for yourself. And then the other part of it, what Arturo's probably telling you about, is that it's almost like a little Facebook. You can friend people, and you've got like a timeline and stuff. and we have a chat board, and we have a Fat2Fit community. And so for the month of December, a lot of us are going to try to check in on that board every single day. It's a challenge. It's, just a challenge, see if you can check in every day. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to even tell anybody anything, but you do have to at least say hello. And getting into that group and getting into that board, you're going to see all these different people and what they're doing. And I don't know, there's some accountability. Usually people write a sentence or two. Hey, this is Nick. I'm doing pretty good today, or I went over my calories yesterday, or I went over my carbs, but I'm back on track today, or whatever. And that might make a difference. So tell me what you mean by I'm going to be in it for December. Because there's a lot of different things that you can do.
Well, I just checked on my phone, so the app is available on Android phones.
Awesome.
So yeah, you cut my legs out for me on the empty carbs, because my wife has definitely tried to do the no carb. What's the one where it's like meat and fruits only?
Well, there's so many different ones. There's Atkins.
That thing.
Yeah, there's South Beach.
I cannot go with outbreads.
No, you don't have to.
It's like the one thing I can't do.
There's so many variations.
I think, honestly, I mean, if I was going to just be brutal honest, the goal for December would probably not to be even to lose any weight. Obviously, that'd be good. I think it's to find the motivation. I think that's like the hardest part, especially for me, of working and kids. And again, too, I can come up with any excuse I need to. Trust me, that's easy part. But it's really
me too.
It's getting, I guess, that mindset of I have to do it no matter what. Yeah. And I think that's the really hard part for me. And I would also probably say I'm hypocritical to some point of I spend so much time researching firearms and calibers and ballistics, yet I don't spend any time looking into health stuff. I'm assuming this is bad, but basically I'll not eat all day, then I'll eat one time. I'm assuming that's probably bad.
You know what? That might not be that bad. We have people. I guess it depends. There's a guy named Chris Tinder, and he was on our show. He's been on our show a couple of times, and he's had a lot of success with something called intermittent fasting. And there's gurus out there, but Chris is just a regular guy that listens to the show that we kind of followed his journey while he tried this, and it worked really, really well. And he gives himself a window of 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And he can only eat between 1 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And what that does is he's got an 8-hour eating window and 16 hours of not eating. So he's fasting. And he does that at least 5 or 6 days a week. And so that one big meal, and really ancestrally, they said that's kind of how we used to eat. We didn't have these 3 meals a day. You'd kill something, you'd eat it, and then you wouldn't get to eat again for a while. And he just had a ton of success. He was even writing me. I told him I would share this because when I put out the show 2 weeks ago that I had just completely fallen off the wagon, and I was sorry, but I'm still not back on the wagon, but I'm going to try. I got flooded with emails from people saying, oh, my God, me too. Oh, I'm so glad you put this out because me too. And Chris was one of those people saying that he'd hurt his wrist and he'd put some weight back on because he hadn't been working out. And he just gave me some great stuff to think about. And he was telling me he really doesn't watch the carbs that much. He just he tries to eat low carb when he can, but he really just tries to stay within that window. So I think it depends. If you're doing it regularly, I think it pays off. Like if you're going to what they call it is intermittent fasting. If you're going to try to eat with just in a certain window and you're going to do it consistently for a while, then there's 16 hours a day every day that you're not. But if you do that big meal and then the next day you're a little hungrier and you eat, you know what I mean? If you're kind of all over the place with it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
It's not strategic and tactical.
No, not at all. Yeah, And again, too, not to find excuses, but I'm good at it. It's, it's always, okay, well, I'm working, 10, 12 hours today or
Yes.
whatever. And then, hey, I got to get off work and run and pick up a kid and then
Yeah.
in the sitter and then go home. By the time I get home, the kids are already. So, usually I just end up picking up, fast food or
Right.
Jimmy John's or something on the way home because it's,
Hey, Jimmy John's does awesome lettuce wraps.
yeah. I need the bread, though. That's the problem. I need
I
the bread.
know, I know. That's the thing. Hey, I'm gonna give you a link to a show. We had a doctor on that he's just had huge success with his patients. He's a heart and stuff. His name's Dr. Rocky Patel, and he's out of Arizona. And he just has a ton of success with people who come to him. And the first thing to get them healthy is to get the diet in order. And he really doesn't tell them to go ultra low carb or low carb. He just, I mean, the goal is that kind of eventually, but he really just starts with give me just breakfast because it's kind of counterintuitive, but some of the research, and he works with this guy who's a researcher, some of the research shows that if you have these carbohydrates later in the day, you're doing yourself a lot of good, where we used to think the opposite. But you wake up in kind of this state that's really good for fat burning, or so they say. It's ketogenic a little bit overnight because you've been fasting overnight. So if you just give him breakfast, like just eat bacon and eggs for breakfast. Don't have the toast, don't have the oatmeal, don't have the cereal. Just push that off until like after lunch, like 1 o'clock. Have your bread with your Jimmy John's lunch, right? And just do breakfast for a couple of weeks. And people don't really have a problem with it because eggs and bacon are good.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I'm hoping my wife is listening right now. She'll be like, no, I talked to an expert. She said bacon and eggs.
Well, I want you to listen to his show because I don't want to slaughter it or mess it up. And he was explaining to our listeners that he really does. He doesn't talk to anybody about any of this fancy stuff, carb night, none of that stuff that we try. He just says, give me breakfast for 2 weeks, and then you'll see that it's not that hard, and you'll see a difference, and you'll see some improvement. And then he talks to them about maybe giving up some of that carb at lunch, because again, the later in the day that you can push all those carbs, as soon as your body gets flooded with insulin, is what his point is when things start to shift to store fat. So the later in the day that you can do that, supposedly, the better. And so, I mean, it's just new science out there. Now, something that we're all trying, and maybe not December, but maybe once you find your motivation, and carbs may not be, like everybody needs a different amount of things. That's the problem that's so tricky, is maybe I can have a few more carbs than my sister or my neighbor. Everybody's totally different, and that's the trick, is finding out at what threshold of protein, fat, carbs, exercise, water, whatever helps you lose weight and not be miserable. You know, because miserable doesn't, I mean, that doesn't last. It doesn't. You can do something, almost anything will work for a couple of weeks, but then you're like, screw this, I'm not going to live like this, and you go back to whatever you were doing. So,
does beer fall under carbohydrates?
It does.
Ah.
But there are some really ultra low carb beers that, like, I think Michelob does
Yeah,
a real low carb.
They don't taste like beer, though. That's the problem.
I don't know. I think people switch to wine, stuff like that. But what a lot of people are doing, and not that you have to do this, but it's just an interesting thing, is that
I'm pretty much on here for you to tell me what to do.
No, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to just help you find your motivation. But here's something that a lot of people are doing that they really like, and it's there's a guy named Kiefer, John Kiefer, and he's that researcher I was talking about, and a ton of people are having success with this. It's called Carb Night, and I can send you information on how to get the book, but it's not rocket science. You basically you do have to do ultra low carb, very low carb, for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, whatever day you want that to be, Friday, Saturday, Monday, whatever, you have a ton of carbs. You have a bunch of carbs. That's your carb night. And it's intentional. There's a couple of things. Part of it is psychological because, you know, you miss them, and it's cool because you don't feel like you're never going to get to have carbs again. You just have to hold out for a few days. And then it's very important to have those carbs or your body adjusts. Even if you go low carb and your body starts losing weight, you start to plateau after a while. And after that first week, people don't lose that much weight anymore. But if you have a carb night, and you're supposed to have a carb night, that insulin spike kind of resets everything, and your body goes, okay, I'm not starving for carbs after all. And then you kind of make yourself sick on them, basically. I mean, if you're Carol, you do, because you have a bunch of stuff you missed, and you're good again for the next 5 or 6 days. You know what I mean?
So that's like the day where you eat a whole box of like brown sugar Pop-Tarts.
Well, he says you can. I mean, there's different theories. Now they're saying cleaner carbs and eating more like, whole grains and stuff like that, or sweet potatoes. But I'm sorry, that's just not the party that I'm looking for in my carb night. I'm just not interested in that. But anyway, you'd have to listen to more. He's coming out with carb night too. But we have a lot of listeners who've had a ton of success on that. And then if you want to work out, if you want to like go to the gym twice a week or do something around the house or work out, you're supposed to do it more often. You're supposed to have it's called carb backloading, but you intentionally have carbs after these workouts. So yeah, I guess you kind of buy yourself more carbs. but no, carb night is meant really to work for people who really don't have time to work out. It's not about the workout. It's about just losing. It's just a very efficient way to mobilize body fat, from what they say.
Okay. Well, speaking of working out, because that's obviously something I have to do. What's a good way? This is going to be like fitness like 100, like the class that's like under 101.
I don't know why you're asking me, but okay. I'll see what
I'm asking you because I would like weigh like 2 of you. So
oh, come on.
You're an expert here. Trust me. I missed watching your morning shows because I was always that one, especially in the beginning too. I was always like that one weird guy that left weird comments on the YouTube stuff.
I loved it. I loved your comments.
So I think I left one about Mountain Dew and Cheetos.
That's all right. We're keeping it real over here. You want to listen to the show eating Cheetos? Okay. Not a problem.
But and this brings up a couple more things, but what are good ways, if you go to the gym or if you don't join the gym and whatever, what are a couple, we'll say a gym for this question, what is a good way to start?
Okay.
Do I go to the gym and just start grabbing barbells and throw them around and making squatting screaming sounds when I'm lifting them? Or
yeah, I'm gonna say no to that. That's not going to get you anywhere. It's interesting. Here's the thing, in just in my experience, and again, I'm not an expert, but one of the things that I would caution you is I would definitely caution you from going to a gym and signing up like everybody's going to do here in about a month, January 1. Those gyms are going to get packed with people that are like, okay, I'm on board now, and I'm ready to start over. And then they're going to sign up with these trainers at these gyms, and unfortunately, a lot of those trainers are very old school. You really don't know what their certifications are. It's very hit or miss to get the trainer at Gold's Gym, or I don't mean to put Gold's out there, but any gym. So again, in my experience and in people that call in, I think you need to find something that you like to do. If you think that the strength training and you're really excited about working out, and strength training is something you want to do multiple times a week, then that's great. Then go for it. But there's tons of people you can listen to and tons of health podcasts you can listen to, and we try to kind of keep our filters to just 1 or 2 really good sources. And one that I would recommend is a guy named Roger Dickerman, and he's a trainer out of Philadelphia, and he has a show called Relentless Roger and the Caveman Doctor. So it's 2 guys. It's a personal trainer, and it's this radiology oncologist who's a low-carb kind of guy. That's why he's the Caveman Doctor. and they talk about fitness each week. And so if you really want to get serious about a gym, about personal training, and like Roger, I was just listening to them last week, and he said the average person really only needs to go do a strength training. The average, unless you're super excited about working out, once a week would be plenty. Now, that doesn't mean just move once a week. He's talking about going to a gym or having some gym equipment at your house, lifting heavy things. Okay, lifting heavy things, whatever, because that doesn't have to be like weights. It can be, people do CrossFit and stuff like that. Once a week should be plenty. And I would invest my money in something like Roger. Roger has a transformation program that you can do online, and it's not very expensive at all. And so you get videos and you check in with them online and do all this stuff, because these guys, it's just the science is a little more there about what to do. What he says to do, like the walking and stuff like that, you do need to move. You do need to do something, like I think what he said was, well, now I'm getting my podcast mixed up. But anyway, you probably want to sprint every once in a while. You probably want to walk or do something movement, like with your kids, multiple times a week. Take them to the park, walk around, play around in the backyard, or something like that. But actually going to a gym and working out once a week should be plenty, but you want to do things that are safe, and you want to do things that somebody who knows what they're talking about is instructing you on. And again, I would absolutely, there's two guys I would refer you to, and one is Roger Dickerman, and if it's not going to be Relentless Roger, maybe Abel James, if he has something out there about working out. But I definitely Roger Dickerman. JT, who's the other guy that does the show, he lives here in Texas, and again, Roger's in Philadelphia, but Roger has trained him remotely. You can pay extra and do a video training session and check in with him, and he gets your goals and everything and tells you what to do, and you go to the gym and you do those things, and then you can do that, or you can just sign up for his transformation program. And see, do y'all have Planet Fitness where y'all are at?
The equivalent of that here. I don't know the name of it.
Because if I had it to do,
so
if I had it, because these are places that are like $10 a month, right? You're really going in there just because the equipment is there. And to me, I would invest in, like I said, like Roger's transformation program that isn't going to have you do anything crazy, but it's really going to be effective, and go to a gym that is a very inexpensive gym that all you need are the weights to do what this guy's telling you to do. I mean, you can go, I know I've been, like I joined the YMCA when I first started getting like my head in the back in the day, and I wanted to lose some weight. And it wasn't bad. There was all the circuit equipment, and I was trained on that circuit equipment. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Well, there's machine after machine after machine after machine, and a lot of these places have this circuit. So you do it, you do everything, and you can get through it all in 30 minutes, and then you leave. And that's not bad. I think that's a decent place for people to start, where you're going to do every muscle group. You're just going to move from machine to machine to machine to machine, and someone will train you on the right way to do it. It was cool because those machines even remembered. You put in your code, and it remembered you from the time before, and it told you how much your weight you should set it at, and all this electronic stuff. So you can do that and work every muscle group and do a 30-minute circuit and come a few days for that. It just depends what's going to motivate you, because the thing that didn't end up motivating me. Like, I was bored. I did that. I didn't feel like I wasn't really pushing myself very much. I didn't feel like it was making any difference, so I gave up on it after a while. But the thing that really turned everything around for me was that I joined a boot camp at that same YMCA, and I didn't mean to join it. They kind of recruited me, and I didn't want to join it, and I went once, and then I got hooked because of the group. The group was very inspiring and very encouraging. I just found out then that I'm kind of a group person.
Well, I think that's exactly why I haven't joined a gym. Is like if I was going to join a gym and there's not one like a Gold's or another high end place. There's none of that near my town. So
Uh-huh.
there's the Planet Fitness-esque one.
Yeah.
But if I joined, I'd want a trainer or something because I don't know. You don't want to go in by yourself, especially if you don't know anything. And I think that's the hardest part is you don't commit to it because number one, I know that I won't stick to it if it's just me, and I think that's something that's really hard. Is if it's just you, which kind of was going to lead me to my next question was, like me and my wife are on like opposite schedules and stuff of how do you manage, you know, either a working out alone when you're having a spouse or secondly, how do yourself and your spouse do something together when you have such opposite schedules? Because
Yes.
you need that support.
Yes.
So what do you do?
Well, here's the thing, and this is what, like I said, I used to do that. I used to do boot camp, and boot camp was great until my life got really busy, just like you're saying. I mean, if you can't fit it in, and even other things that I was doing more recently, if it starts taking time away from my kids, then I know it sounds like an excuse, like you said, we're full of excuses. Um, but I did start to feel like it was all about me because, oh, I needed to be working out. So I had to find something that um, I'm trying to do more stuff with my kids. But the last show that we had JT on, he read these basics, and we both agreed that we're going to go back to basics. And when he read the basics, and they were from this guy Mark Sisson's Primal Blueprint for Living, like ancestrally, it was very basic things: eat plants and animals, like we're saying, plants and animals, not bread. But when it got to the fitness stuff, it said lift heavy things. It said move slowly often, which he means walk. Walk when you can walk, and sprint every once in a while. So Jack and I were talking about that. That's JT. Um, we were talking about that, and then my husband and I have been talking about it lately. And so the walking a lot, that shouldn't take any time out of my time with my husband or my time with my kids. The way I'm fitting that in is wherever I go, I am parking further away. I am taking the stairs. Like, it's a non-negotiable for me anymore. I am walking when I can walk, and if I've been at my desk for way too long, I'm just going to find some errand to get up and walk. The thing that helps with that, now that you've got Christmas coming up, is those Fitbits. Have you seen Fitbits?
I have heard of them.
Okay, so it's
I,
a little bracelet that you wear, or it's a little dog tag thing you can put on or clip to your clothes, and it tracks your steps. This makes a huge difference. We've had people on the show, a guy named Dion Denton, who's lost a ton of weight because he makes sure he gets 10,000 steps a day. The average person gets about 5,000. So he's doubling that, and you just find yourself, again, parking further away, doing stuff where you're going to just throughout your day be a little more active than not. And that might be just standing up more than sitting down, changing that desk that you do all your YouTubing and everything to a standing desk would make a huge difference. And so, in your heart rate and everything. So as much background movement as you can do. Then if I'm only going to need to work out once a week, now even then for me, I just am trying to figure out a day where I can go to the gym for a whole hour and a half or whatever, and I can't fit it in. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing these tiny workouts. They're like 20 minutes, like I told you. I go in and I just do 4 exercises and I leave, and I'm back before the kids even wake up because it's right down the street. I mean, I could do these things in my backyard. I can do walking lunges. I can do push-ups. I can do dips. There's tons of body weight stuff that you can do, but I'm making this deal with myself. If I'm not going to go to a gym for a big extended period of time, I'm going to do it more often. And everybody can wake up like 15, 20 minutes earlier and do something a few days a week. So, or you can do it, like I said, you get up one day a week and do it like that. So my husband and I are trying to figure out, we kind of trade off, like, because I want him to figure out time for him to be able to do something like this at least once a week. and he wants me to be able to do something like that at least once a week. So right now we haven't figured out what day that's going to be. So again, I'm doing mini workouts every couple of days. You
Okay.
know, I do want to tell you something that's interesting as I'm trying to give you a lot of different options. Jake and Zach, when they did the show with us and Jake Challen, you know who Jake is.
A little bit.
Okay, so Jake is our president of the firearms radio. Yeah, you're being facetious. Okay, so Jake had gained weight, and so had Zach. And so they did a challenge with each other who was going to lose 20% of their weight or something like that, or who's it, I can't remember, but they made it fair where it was a percentage, the quickest. And Jake won. And it was interesting how he won. He didn't focus on his diet for the first month because it was a 2-month challenge, 8 weeks. For the first 4 weeks, all he did, and this was so crazy, and I told him he was just crazy for doing this, he would always go to sleep and put his tennis shoes beside the bed, and he would get up and he would lace up and he would run 1 mile. 1 mile. And so, I mean, what does that take? Like 10 minutes? It took him like 10 or 15 minutes, you know, and I don't even know that he was running at the beginning, but all he was going to do was 1 mile. And so, I mean, no one misses you for that amount of time around your house. If you just tell your wife, I'm going to be right back. Because Jenny, his wife, would tell me, I mean, he was just religious about it. He would just get up and out, but then he was right back. And so we're like, what is 1 mile going to do for you? That's like 10 minutes of a workout. But it was amazing because he said once he made it a non-negotiable and he ran that 1 mile every day, he would, first of all, his digestion, he said, he swears digestion and everything was getting better. You come back and you eat a better breakfast. You actually do better throughout the day because, you know, you feel like you're doing something. And I don't know, he started to try to get faster at the mile. It's this head game thing, too. But it was crazy. Once he decided after a few weeks to start, like, reining in the diet, and he had a calorie goal and he had a carbohydrate goal. I mean, he just started falling off. He never stopped doing the 1 mile a day. I think his shins started bothering him. But he probably could have gotten the same effect by doing a fast walk, you know, because it was more about moving every single day and doing something like that. He probably was getting his heart rate up pretty high, so that interval stuff is good for you. So I don't know. It's all, what do you think you're going to stick to? Because
That's the hard part,
yeah,
especially because I'm not a morning person.
yeah. And are you real tired in the evening?
No, so
Well,
I
if
guess
you
that's
have
my
more
best time.
energy in the evening, then
Generally
just
do, except for example, like when I look at my weather, it's like 9 degrees outside.
oh
Oh,
my God.
that's a little bit.
You can't run a mile in 9 degrees.
I can't run a mile, so the weather has nothing to do with that part. Which leads me to my next question: do you kind of have to get in? You have to kind of get fit before you can get fit, if that makes sense. Like,
No.
if I go out and just run a mile, like
Uh-huh.
I don't think I could run a mile. But if I did run a mile, like how terrible I would feel, like because
I
I'm just
don't
so
think
out of
it's
shape, you know.
advisable to try to get out there and do something super strenuous if you're not trained for it because you could hurt yourself. And the research, again, I'm not an expert, but what we're hearing is it's more important to just be active. So a moderate, like the walking, really is better than the running. Like the marathon runners and stuff like that, you're really breaking down your body in the future. You know, you're going to pay for all that later. So the walking, the just being active, that's why that Fitbit, you know, really tracking how many steps, how active were you today? And it's kind of a little motivator that, okay, well, I've got the kids, but I can walk around the house with them for a little bit, or we can walk, or we can go to the park, or we can walk around outside, or you just start, like, what kind of a job do you have during the day? How active is it?
I work in a gun shop, so I mean I'm on my feet. So
Okay, so maybe you're already pretty active, but you can
yeah.
always bump it up. You might be able to
I
bump
did
it up.
actually buy. God, what was it? I bought my wife something like that last year for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Not a jabber. It starts with a J.
Hmm.
Jam, not jam box. Bluetooth. I'm gonna have to look it up now. It's a Bluetooth like wrist workout thing.
Yeah, that's kind of
Um,
like a heart rate
Bravo,
monitor.
Up, the Up by John.
Okay, I don't know what that
So
is.
I have one of those laying around my house.
I've got multiple ones, but I can't find that. I can't find the other part to them.
That's the problem. Yeah, I don't know where the
But
charger is.
so there was a guy that came on our show one time that didn't have anybody to do a challenge with, because I don't know, maybe you're motivated by a challenge, like Jake and Zach. They knew they weren't going to stick to it, but they wanted to get to a certain weight, so they knew that if they put a bet and that would work, just to kind of get, so if you don't have anything like that, there was a guy that what was he going to do? He's going to check in, he was going to log every single day to MyFitnessPal his food, and if he didn't, he was going to give money to charity. He stopped communicating with us after a while. It didn't work.
He couldn't afford his phone anymore.
No, but that's why. I mean, if the work, I mean, definitely we all need to strength train. So you just have to decide if the strength training is something you want to do. Again, I don't think you need to do more than once a week, but if you're going to only do it once a week, you would want to do some kind of total body strength training, and get a trainer that that isn't some young 20-year-old guy at the gym that's just going to be watching the women. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So find a trainer that's somebody that you trust, or somebody that might know a personal trainer or something like that. And again, you might do just once a week, but it depends what it's going to give you mentally. If it's going to make you, because they do say that once a week is important, kind of as a booster shot each week to engage all your muscles. It's not like the exercise, like the movement, even if you're doing cardio and running every day, you can't out-exercise bad food choices. So really, 85 to 90% of this game is what you put in your mouth. And bodybuilders say that all the time. You carve those abs with spoons in the kitchen. We've heard that on the show. We've heard guys say that before, because it really is 90% what you eat. But the other side of that is that the activity and the you can call it working out, or you can just call it being active. For me, that if I don't have that, then I don't do the other very well. If I don't at least get out and walk, or that's why I think these little 20-minute lame workouts I'm doing every once in a while. And for Jake, that 1 mile a day, I think it helped him make better decisions during the day. You kind of want to. You feel good. It just makes you feel good. And then you don't want to feel bad, so you keep, you drink a little more water. MyFitnessPal is pretty cool because it will log all these things for you. Like, you'll figure out whether you want to count calories or you want to count carbs or whatever you want to count. You're going to put some goals in there. And then you're going to see, if I walk a little more, if I do a 20-minute bike ride or whatever, or even, around my house at video or whatever, I earned another 300 calories. That's pretty cool. Or the water, drinking water. That's something I'm not doing very well at all right now. Look,
I don't drink water at all.
And this is not water, DC. It's water, but I'm putting these drops of Kool-Aid crap in it. It's really, it's awful, but I put too much. And I don't even buy Mio. I buy the kids' Kool-Aid stuff. Really bad, but I really should start drinking more water.
I know I should. I know the water plays an important role. Like, I don't know, whatever reason, I just hate water. I don't know.
But
just don't.
Have you always hated water? Because I feel like that right now too. But if I force myself to drink water, after a few days, then I start really wanting water. But I don't know why I don't want to do it right now.
Never been on the water thing. I don't know.
Well, do you do the Mio or anything?
No.
Are you a soda guy?
No, not really. I mean, I'll have a soda every once in a while.
Well, that's not bad then, probably. What do you drink besides beer?
That's pretty much about it. We're in Wisconsin. You have 3 things in your diet. You have beer, cheese, and brats.
I love cheese. I'm eating too much cheese right now. I love cheese.
Cheese is healthy. That's what I say to myself.
Everything can be kind of healthy. It depends
It
what
also
you
could be
go.
terrible. Well,
I
and that's my
know.
problem too. Like, I'm not a big sweets guy. I'm really not.
That's good.
But when I find good food, I eat a lot of it. That's
Okay.
that's like my problem. And well, another part is too, like my work. I work in a gun shop on a hunt club, and
Okay.
it's a high end membership kind of club. And so like we have a gourmet chef, like they
Oh
make
my
really good
gosh.
food. So like I'll have like an awesome pheasant dish or some
Nick, what time do you go to work?
usually 8 or 10 a.m. depending on schedule.
And then what time do you get off?
Usually 6 o'clock.
Okay. I really, now you do whatever you want to do.
No, tell
But
me.
I'm thinking, if I were you, I don't know if you could do this. Like, what kind of breakfast do you usually have?
Right now I've been on an oatmeal kick
Okay. I love oatmeal, but I can't
with
have it anymore.
milk and brown sugar.
Okay. How are you if you skip breakfast?
I'm pretty good as long as I have to have coffee no matter what. I
Yeah.
guess I should take that back. That's what I drink more than anything is coffee.
Okay. Me too.
Um,
I'm pretty bad with the coffee.
uh,
Okay. What do you put in your coffee?
Nothing.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, as I
Oh,
tell you, I like my coffee like I like my women bitter.
I love it. You're so funny. Your wife's gonna kill you. Okay. So, Nick, could you do the Chris Tender intermittent fasting and wait? Now, if you can have coffee, then you can have all your coffee and wait to eat your lunch until 1 o'clock and eat whatever you want, your pheasant, whatever. Don't worry about the low carb thing or anything, especially not initially. But you have got to cut it off at 9 o'clock.
I think I think that's game.
And Chris says, and I'll have him come back on the show with you if you want. He swears that he was really freaking out when he started doing this because he would get to like 8 or 8:30 and he hadn't eaten dinner and he's like, "Oh, this is going to be way too much food, way too late at night." But he'd be like shoving food in his mouth because he knows at 9 o'clock the window closes. But it still worked. It still worked. He lost weight consistently when he did that. But I mean, think about it. That's 16 hours that you're really not eating any food. And like Dr. Patel said, in the morning, coffee is not going to raise your blood sugar. That's the whole thing that he's talking about, pushing those carbs to later in the day. Coffee does not raise your blood sugar. You could even put heavy cream in your coffee, and it's not going to raise your blood sugar because heavy cream isn't sugary and it doesn't have any carbs. So that's what he has people do is just the ham and eggs and stuff like that. But Chris does something different. He stays in that. It's basically fasting, but coffee is okay until 1 o'clock, not noon and not 11:30 when a lot of people at your work are eating lunch. It's a late lunch. It's 1 o'clock or later, and then that's an 8-hour window that you would stick to.
So is it? But I mean, is like a free for all for that point in time, or
That's what I mean. It depends. People start out as a free for all, and then that's what I've heard. I know 3 people that this worked really well for, and 2 of them told me that they didn't care what they ate as long as it was in that window. And then after a while, they plateaued. They stopped losing weight, and so then they started kind of tightening it up a little bit within that window, like, do I really have to gorge myself or can I just,
yeah?
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a lunch and a dinner. It can be whatever you want it to be, and just see how it goes for a week or 2 and see if it works.
Okay, I think that's a good plan.
I don't know. I'm not telling you to do
No,
that.
I want somebody to tell me what to do. Like that's it.
But there's different ways. There's another way of fast. People do, there's different protocols. Another way to intermittent fast is one day eat all day, one day don't eat at all the next day. And a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do
So,
that.
yeah, me neither. So this is 16 hours off. And I don't even know. I'm going to need to find you some links. Lean Gains, that's what Chris sent me. Let me find his email because my husband was interested in it, and Chris was telling him to look on these websites to find more information, and he told me I could share this on the show for anybody who is interested in doing this. So give me just a second because it's there's a website that has a ton of information that's better than me. I'm just like, okay, this one guy one time said this, and this other guy one time. Here we go. And here's Chris's favorite quote. Thank you, Chris Tinder, for this quote. It is, I lost it. It's such a good quote. Hey, God. My favorite quote. A year from now, you'll wish you started today.
Yes.
That's a good quote.
That,
Okay.
yeah, that about sums it up.
Yeah.
But it's like a little longer than that. But.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking January. Like December, I'm with you. December's not about losing this weight because I have not lost most of the weight that I gained. The average American gains 7 pounds in December. If I just maintain, if I just find that motivation, like you said, just to try and not gain those 7 pounds, it's like you lost 7 pounds. And so I'm just going to try to make December. Here's what Chris said. Let's make December a good month instead of the, oh my God, I can't believe everything I ate in December month. So he says, if you want to hear more about intermittent fasting, here's a great active community, and I'll put the link in the show notes. It's a Reddit, Lean Gains, and then www.leangains.com, and that's lean like not like Lean, Lean Gains, Gains. Leangains.com has everything you'll ever want to know about intermittent fasting. And he told my husband, don't worry so much about low carb. He said, don't be afraid of carbs. I eat low carb when I can, but I do brown rice, I do sweet potato, I do Kashi Go Lean cereal with almond milk. So, you know, he does realize that he ends up breaking his window or binging if he doesn't make sure that he eats by 1 or 1:30. So I guess that means he gets way too hungry to be good about this.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, whether he's real hungry or not, around 1 to 1:30, he makes sure he starts eating, at least eats at that time.
Okay.
So I'll send you those links, but I'll also put them in the show notes because it might be something that you want to try. There's been a lot of research that's come out now, too, about fasting that is very good for health, not just weight loss, that's the time when your cells kind of regenerate and die off, the ones that are precancerous and stuff. That I've heard that on more than one show, that fasting is very good at a cellular level, that it does a lot of things for us. And some people go on high fat fasts, so you can eat a lot of fat but nothing else for the same reasons. And I don't know. It's too complicated for me. I just know that if I give you these links, these people, there's more information there about intermittent fasting. I met a guy one time that told me so many of his health problems cleared up when he started intermittent fasting. That it was, I mean, yeah, he lost some weight, but all these things that he'd had wrong with him for the longest time went away. So I don't know. Like he had fibromyalgia and some other stuff, and it just cleared stuff up. So,
wow.
I don't know.
I think that'll be my goal for December.
Okay.
Yeah. So I joined MyFitnessPal.
Awesome. What's your username? Do you want friends? Do you want all of the
Absolutely. I need the most motivation as possible.
Okay.
So my username is Nick Ptac, so NickPtac.
Okay.
Awesome. Contrary to what my profile says, I'm not female. I messed that up. So I'm trying to find that part in MyFitnessPal.
That's so great. You have to find our community. See if you can do this real quick.
All right.
Are you looking at the MyFitnessPal website?
Yep, I'm there.
Okay. Do you see up at the top there should be like tabs up at the top, and one of them says community?
Yep.
Okay. If you go to community, you should be able to search for a group. Look and see. I'm going to log in too. Look and
groups.
See if you
search.
MyFitnessPal. Community. If you click on community, I just clicked on community. There are, let's see, a ton of groups, but how do you search for a group?
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Well, let's see. Find members. Let me see if I can do. Oh wow, you actually put in like their info.
Well, you can do that,
Yeah, no, we don't
but
want that.
MyFitnessPal, my groups, all my groups. How can you find a group? I can just give it to you.
That'll work.
Okay, I'm gonna email this to you. Here's a link, because I don't remember how we first found it, but now I have the link here. Command C. Okay, so I'm emailing it to you
Oh,
right
oh, that's
now.
message boards. I thought I had it.
That's interesting. Nick at Bickley Tech.
Oh,
Oops, sorry, I'm giving everybody your
oh, it's
email.
fine.
I won't say it. Okay. Okay, so I sent it to you. I want you to join I want you to join our Fat2Fit community because these people will hound you. Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So for people listening, if you go into the show notes, and today's show notes are at fat2fithq.com/109. The link is always in there for our MyFitnessPal community. And the link is in there to friend me as well. And if you friend anybody else like Heron and Arturo and other people, make sure you say, I was listening to the Fat2Fit show and I heard, because otherwise we just get a friend request and we have no idea who people are. And so people are asking me to please make sure and mention that they would like to know that you're part of this listening community. But anyway, for you, Nick, you should just join that group and you could start checking in tomorrow. Are you on the group yet?
Yes, I'm in the group.
Okay, so if you're in the group, do you see how we have like a December challenge and some other
Yep.
stuff in there?
December check-in challenge. I see that.
Yeah, there's like rules. That's just the rules up in announcements. But if you scroll down, you'll see the different discussion threads.
Okay.
Okay, so the one that says December 1 through December 6 check-in challenge thread.
Okay.
I'm the only one that has commented because I just opened that this evening because it starts tomorrow. And it's usually called chat and accountability, and there's a date and people are just check in or anything you want to start a discussion thread about. They're just chat boards. Right now, Hammer Jammer, a guy named John, is very motivational, and he put a challenge out there for every single day. You just do whatever the challenge is that day, and it's something you can do on commercial breaks if you're watching TV. And they're just fun things that he'll have you just hold up a milk jug, for 2 minutes, full, or a liter, a bottle of water for 2 minutes, but then you have to drink it, different things. So something that anybody can do. This weekend if we were watching any football games, we had to stop, or a TV show, during the commercial. We just did body weight squats. So you're just squatting, but no weights. And then he wanted you to report how many you did on your timeline there. So anyway, those are kind of fun, but you don't have to. You just, people just chat on those boards about things. It's just a way to stay motivated.
Yeah. No, I think that's the hardest part too, especially going from nothing to putting your foot in the water. It's and kind of here's something too I just thought of is there's so much information. You try to look up health tips and there's
Don't get overwhelmed. Yes.
Well, how do you filter through some stuff?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much information, and this isn't the first time I've tried to get in shape. Obviously, when you're looking at information, for somebody walking in that really knows nothing about fitness,
Mm-hmm.
how do you filter out? Okay, this is good, this is not. Because there's so much information.
Well, and that's why I'm worried that you're asking me, because I am not the expert for sure. But I can tell you what I do feel like I'm an expert in is somebody who searches around, like you're saying, and just you can get completely overwhelmed. So I'm not an expert, but I am an average person who's been wading through all of this for a long time. So my best advice is, and especially because you're a podcast listener, right? You're
Hmm.
listening to podcasts. So I would pick one filter, and we hear this all the time because if you even go look at health podcasts, there are so many. It's ridiculous and it's overwhelming, and there's conflicting advice because some will say you need carbs and you need a ton of carbs, and I think that's true depending who you are. Some people don't function well without a certain amount of carbohydrates that are going to give you energy for the day, and other people don't need that much, and everybody is totally different. So you want to pick a filter, pick one filter that you trust, and listen to that. And just kind of try to block out the rest of the noise, because there's too much money to be made in this game, and too many, almost anything works for a short amount of time. So you can say you're low carb, or you can say you count calories, or you're Weight Watchers, or you're this or you're that, and you're the one that works because here's the proven results. And whatever you try, it usually works for a short amount of time because you're doing something different. And but that's the thing, is that you're going to be, well, is that the right thing, or is this the right thing, or why isn't this working anymore? And again, I'm going to refer you back to the exact same people. I would absolutely, there's about two or three people, and we have on our website our recommended resources. So definitely Relentless Roger and the Caveman Doctor, their podcast is very good for, now they are going to talk a lot about low carb, but they're not going to talk about no carb. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, one of them does the doctor because he does a lot of work with cancer patients, and this diet is good for them. But the personal trainer is very down to earth and very realistic, and he's the one saying you don't have to go crazy. And so it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So you want to just, again, pick a filter, pick one or two resources, and then stick with those and just listen to those and try to block out everything else until, because really I think it comes down to figuring out you're your own lab, right?
Hmm.
You're the only one that responds to exercise the way that you do, that responds to diet the way that you do, the intermittent fasting, whether it's going to work or not. It's different for you than for somebody else. And so it's kind of tinkering and tweaking and tinkering and tweaking. But you want to listen to somebody reasonable in what you're going to try. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to show you my shirt real quick because this guy named Phil, I know, I'm on YouTube. See this N equals 1? And that it says my body is my lab. I'm wearing that because the guy that sent this to me, his name is Philip, and it's people call him BJJ Caveman because he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Is that what it's called,
Yeah.
BJJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he tinkers with that. He's getting really good with that, but he's also very low carb. He's like caveman, paleo diet eating guy, and he chronicles his own journey. He has his own website, and you can follow him and his journey. And but what's really cool about him is he's one of these guys that is a big proponent of, only one person in this experiment. It's you. N equals 1.
Mm.
And so, you don't, it doesn't matter what all the studies show. It doesn't matter what all that stuff says. It's about how it works for Nick. And the only person who can figure that out is you. So you might be fine with walking once or twice a week, or playing with your kids in the park once or twice a week. That might be enough to keep you motivated to do a little bit of strength training. And you don't even have to go crazy with the strength training. You might just decide, I'm going to just do push-ups, and like I had to go back to my knees. I used to be so strong, but just doing something a couple of times a week or once a week, and really, with this intermittent fasting, if it makes a difference in a week or two, you might get this whole rush of new motivation to do something different. But I would track it definitely track it to the best of your ability, because then you can look back and see what worked and what didn't work. And
Yeah.
and that's one of the things. There's a book. I know I keep throwing more and more
No,
resources
go
out
for it.
to you. There's a book by a guy named Dean Dwyer, and it's fantastic. And it is a short book. It's like a $10 paperback, but it's called Make Shift Happen. Shift.
Yes.
Make shift happen. And he has a blueprint in there about how to, get fit and get into shape and all this, and you Xerox some of the pages, but it's really motivational, and it's just like taking one step at a time. And it really is. I'm trying to remember why I brought that up, but I think it was one of those things that if I was going to tell somebody where to start, Dean's book would be a really good idea too. But he does end up recommending you toward lower and lower carb. And I know you say you can't live without bread, and that's a lot of people feel that way. But can you live with half the bread that you eat right now? You know
Probably.
what
Well,
I
I mean,
mean?
it's not necessarily bread, but like
White things.
products or I don't know. There's so many like pastas and noodles.
Yes,
They're so
yes.
delicious. They're so delicious.
They are. They are delicious and they're addictive. And because you miss them when you don't have them. But that's what's so cool about carb night, because you're not it's a head game too. You're like, okay, well, I'm not giving them up forever. I'm just giving them up for 6 days. I'll have them on Saturday. So here's the thing that a lot of people, we have several people on this show, like a gal named Lisa Jarman and another gal named Stacy Knickerbocker, who have been at this for both of them have lost about 100 pounds and have kept it off for years. And the interesting thing that they say, both those gals and Jack, now that it's been over a year that he's lost his 75, 80 pounds, is it's not always the same thing. You might try, like one of them did Weight Watchers for a while until it didn't work anymore. And then they did something else for a while until that didn't work anymore. And then they did something else for a while until that didn't work anymore. Lisa says she has done everything because everything stopped working and you try something else. And again, this intermittent fasting might work for a while, but then you might realize, well, you know what, I can do carbs just for dinner. I mean, I can have a salad. I can have Jimmy John's lettuce wrap for lunch. I can have coffee in the morning with eggs and bacon. I can have a Jimmy John's lettuce wrap for lunch with a small piece of bread. And then I can have whatever I want for dinner. And I'll try that for a few weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you just have to start somewhere and start learning about yourself, I think, is the key. I can't tell you do this because it
I don't.
may not
It's
work
just
for you.
well, and I think that's kind of the hard part too. Is you just want to be like, okay, if you do steps 1, 2, 3, then you're going to get to here, or
Hmm.
like because in other parts of life, there's hey, you save money, you buy a house, blah blah blah. You accumulate wealth and you can retire. Okay, that's the
Yes.
plan. In
Yes.
this, it's just so
Right.
you know.
There are some fundamentals just to keep in mind, because you say it's a lot of noise out there, and I don't need to be an expert to know that this is true.
But you are an expert.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
But I do know this, and I don't think anybody's going to dispute this with me. 100 calories. It used to be calories in, calories out, right? I have this many calories a day. If I run or I work and I shrink down my calories and I only eat this many calories, I'll lose weight. Well, research is showing, and it's just not that simple. Because if I shrink down my calories, if you cut your calories, you get into my fitness pal and you really start eating less, your body's going to adjust to that. That's one thing to know, is that it's not all about the numbers. It's much more about the quality of your food. Now you can't eat 1 million calories because that's going to show up, right? But 100 calories of broccoli or spinach is totally different than 100 calories of pasta. What that's going to do in your system is totally different. Just like that doctor was saying to push the carbs to the end of the day, because that pasta does raise insulin. Now, you might be more or less sensitive to insulin than I am. That's the tricky thing, is that we're all a little different in how sensitive we are, insulin sensitive. But blood sugar going up is blood sugar going up, and so and that pasta doesn't have nearly the same amount of nutrients and things that the vegetables are going to have for you. So, but then we have other people that high fat is a real big thing right now. That fat doesn't raise or lower your blood sugar. It just has a few more calories. So if you're not going, and it's more satisfying. That's why you can eat eggs and bacon. They have a little more fat, but they're not raising your blood sugar, but you're going to be full. And you just have to make choices and sort of tinker and tweak and figure out. And then if you feel like you plateaued, well, maybe you have to do something and shake it up. Maybe you have to go off the diet for 3 or 4 days and make sure your body knows that you're not starving for whatever you're depriving yourself of, and then get back on it, or something different. I don't know. It's gonna be oh, here's one more thing to think about. because this is a really interesting time of year for you to want to make a change, Nick. It's crazy time of year to do that.
I live in crazy town, so
you live in crazy town. But there's a lot of talk about this thing called circadian rhythms. Have you ever been a shift worker?
No.
Okay, well, shift workers know this circadian rhythm thing is that your body at night wants it to be nighttime, and during the day it wants it to be daytime, and there's things going on in your body that because of that. Well, that's one way to think about it. Another way to think about the rhythms, circadian rhythms, I think is what they call it, is that ancestrally, for millions of years, we have evolved in a way that this time of year, food is becoming scarce. It's like a seasonal thing. Food is becoming very scarce, and so there wouldn't be very much food. Like, people would eat and eat and eat all summer and be active all summer. There's lots of fruit and stuff like that. But then in the winter, there just wasn't that much food, and so a lot of people would just fast and kind of, I think you put on a lot of weight in the fall because there wasn't going to be a lot of food in the winter. And unfortunately, now there's tons of food in the winter. In fact, there's more food at Christmas than ever. But I mean, and I see people posting about this a lot. You can go and look it up. It's supposedly difficult to lose weight at this time of year because of that. Just genetically. And I don't know how true that is, but I'm not going to get discouraged if it's hard for me to lose weight around now. Like Jack was saying on the last show that he's hungrier than he's ever been. Like, his cravings are crazy hungry right now. And we were like, well, maybe it's that ancestral thing that this is the time we're supposed to be stocking up because winter is going to be thick. And so that's all I'm saying is know that December is a difficult month for a variety of reasons. It's a difficult month because you're going to have a lot of you're not a sweets guy, which is good.
No.
But there's a lot of savory foods around too. A lot of big feasts at work and things like that.
Oh, I've actually the past 2-3 weeks I've been on a total pheasant kick.
Pheasant sounds wonderful.
Oh, it's like a better chicken. So that's like all I ate for Thanksgiving was pheasant poppers. Like, that's.
What's a pheasant popper?
So it's jalapeno. Well, I'll give you my recipe for if there's any hunters out there. So you take a jalapeno, put cream cheese on it.
Oh, yum.
Here's the trick though: is put water chestnuts on it. It
okay.
completely changes the texture. And then I marinate my pheasant breasts in a mix of like honey, soy sauce, a little salt and pepper, some garlic, marinate it overnight. Then you put all that together. So you got the jalapeno, cream cheese, water chestnuts, turkey, wrapped in bacon.
Wow.
And then throw them in the oven for like 30 minutes or so. And they're just the best things ever. They're so good.
Fantastic.
I don't know. I'm going to say that might fall into the carb category slightly.
Only because of the honey and stuff. The honey but the cream cheese is fine, and the bacon is fine, and the pheasant is fine, and the jalapeno is fine. It's just that bit of sugar.
Honey's only a marinade though.
Yeah, but I don't know. It
Okay.
just would depend. Like, is there a
Yeah.
teaspoon about on there by the time you eat it? Do
It's
you
like a
just...
well, yeah. I don't know what's left after you cook it, but it's so good. That's like all I ate for Thanksgiving. Like I
Okay.
didn't have. I like a small piece of turkey and a little bit of mashed potatoes. I just loaded my because I made like 40 of them.
Oh my God, they sound fantastic.
They're so good. Um,
All right.
shameless plug. You can check out my Instagram profile and see the pictures.
Oh, okay. Well, give me that
Instagram
link.
and Instagram.com/practically tactical.
Okay, okay. We'll have
Are
to
you
put
are
that.
you on Instagram?
My son is. I am, but I don't ever check it because I don't understand it.
You just take pictures and
Okay.
make funny hashtags. That's it.
All right. Well, maybe
But
I'll.
that might be another good way for again coming from an outside perspective of your awesome community that you have is
Uh,
like literally the first thing I thought of is like maybe I'll open up a separate Instagram and I'll just take pictures of everything I eat. Like be hardcore about everything I eat, take a picture of it, post it, just so I can go back and look. But it's also a good way of completely lazy at posting. Like
no, that's you're not the first one to think about that because I have heard that people that nutritionists are having people log that way. Just take pictures of everything that you put in your mouth before you put it in your mouth and keep the records of it. And it's the same thing. I mean, you're not seeing the macros and the how much protein, carbs, and this and that, but it is helping you recognize it's a journal,
yeah,
and you're like, well, maybe I'm not gonna eat this because I've already taken many pictures today.
I'm just figuring, maybe like. To follow that feed, you're gonna have to love like the McRib because that'll probably be featured several times, with hashtag Fat Life. You know?
It's not that hard to log the food in my fitness pal. I know it seems hard, but if you eat, like you're saying, you eat the McRib every day or whatever, it.
Not every day. I won't go that. You don't have to go that far on me. Not every day.
But you might eat about the same kind of thing every evening or every morning or your coffee and stuff like that. It remembers and it will just you can just hit yesterday's breakfast or as soon as you start to type it in, it remembers. It starts to become very, very easy.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna send you also. I can't remember everything I said I was gonna send you. I'm gonna have to listen to the show. But I there's a do you have Netflix?
Yes.
Okay. I don't even know if this is on Netflix anymore. I hope it is. But there's do you remember that documentary Super Size Me?
I watched part of it. Yes.
Okay, that was if for people who've watched that or haven't watched that, that was a documentary about McDonald's, and McDonald's is the devil, and this guy gained all this weight because he ate McDonald's every day. Well, the one I want you to watch is not that. I want you to come and watch the one that they made after that, and a guy named Tom McNaughton did it, just to prove that documentary was full of it. He ate McDonald's every day. Hang on. Let me get it. Um, he ate McDonald's every day, and he lost a ton of weight because the way that the other guy did the documentary, it was he's like nobody does that. Nobody goes to McDonald's and the parameters he had to eat every single thing on the menu by the end of it. I'm like nobody does that. You eat pretty much the same thing. Plus he went to the doctor and he found out it was more about carbs than anything. So he ate McDonald's every day, but he kept his carbs under 50. So it's not like he could never have the bun. It was just like sometimes he could and sometimes he couldn't and sometimes he would have half of it. And Fathead is the name of it. It's called
Fathead. Okay.
Fathead. And it is exactly like that documentary, only he sets out to prove that as long as you have half a brain, you could eat McDonald's. It's not like the most nutritious food, but it doesn't have to make you that
Yeah.
fat. You can totally be smart about it and still lose weight. And he did. It was really interesting. So it's just another plug for logging because that guy had to log. He could see that McDonald's was giving you what was in everything,
Yeah.
but he was just logging. He was keeping his carbs under 50 a day, I think. 50.
Man, I just thought of a great idea. I'm gonna come up with like a beer diet documentary. And I'll just have a camera follow me around, just drinking all this beer.
We're already such a YouTuber.
And just be like drunk like 90% of the day.
Yeah. I don't know how
I'll
that's
just lose
gonna
all
work
this weight.
out. At least, but I don't know if you will.
I doubt it. But you're drunk, so who
Who
cares?
cares at that point? So come on, Nick. What's your plan, man?
All right, so I think I'm gonna do the fasting, the intermittent fasting.
You gonna try that?
I'm
Really?
gonna try it.
That's
That
awesome.
fits my schedule. And then I mean, usually I would say at least 5 out of 7 days. That's usually what I end up doing anyway. It's like today I didn't eat until uh what did I even eat today? Oh, I had me and the kids ran errands today and they were great. So we went to Culver's and got lunch. That's a treat for them. I don't know if you had Culver's before.
I hear about Culver's. There's
Oh,
something about a
Butterburger.
butter burgers.
Yes, you
We don't
got
even
it.
have Culver's, and I've heard
I
about the
know.
butter burgers.
Yeah, no, it's
Jake Challen likes Culver's.
yeah, he's up near me, so he knows exactly. That wasn't until probably when we were done with Christmas tree shopping and everything, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So that's usually just how it is. I usually don't eat breakfast, going to work, then, I'll realize, hey, I haven't eaten today, I'm hungry, then I'll eat. So
So,
I think that works best for my schedule.
do you stop at 9 o'clock, or like right now? What time is it there?
It's 11:15.
Would when was the last time you ate?
Well, I think it was Culver's. Did I eat anything else?
Because is this going to be any different? Are you already
Uh,
intermittent fasting?
Probably. Well, I mean, it varies because, I mean, usually, I work, 5 days a week, 6 days
But
a week.
no, because you've been eating the oatmeal in the morning, and you've probably been eating your lunch around 11:30 or noon, and then
When
you
I'm
get
at
real
work, I
hungry
definitely
and
eat
eat a
later.
big old dinner.
Yeah. Well, usually, I'll get off work and I have to go get a kid from a sitter or run a kid. I'll get off work immediately and have to go pick up a kid from basketball practice, and that's usually when I just end up grabbing something to eat because it's like, okay, if I don't eat at this second, I'm not gonna eat for another, 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think
Okay.
I think I can make it work. So,
Okay, but you got to tell us how it's going. Try it for like 2 weeks and
all right.
see how it's going. But are you going to take any measurements right now? Because the scale is not a good measuring tool. You need a tape measure. And this guy Philip, BJJ Caveman, thank you again for my shirt. He sent me measuring tape. Not like you can't get measuring tape, but he sent me real cool measuring tape. But anyway, that or pictures of yourself in underwear or something.
Yeah, I'll definitely put those on my Instagram.
No.
Definitely.
But that's the best marker between
Okay.
now and in 2 weeks. The scale is not a good marker because the scale, you could eat a little salt, you could eat whatever. It's a false reading. If you start working out, you're going to put on muscle, which weighs more than fat. It's just all screwed up to go by the scale. The scale is, within, I mean, it's not like it's not at all a good marker. It just can't be your only one.
Yeah.
You have to do something.
All
So
right. I will get a measuring tool.
because you can put
Um,
those in My Fitness Pal too. That's where you can,
okay.
and they're private if you want them to be private. But it's everybody always wishes that they went back and had taken some pictures or done some measuring.
Maybe I'll do the
Get
pictures
started.
thing.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
that's easy.
Yeah, that's easy because that's
And
something.
pants, how your pants fit, and things like that.
Okay.
Those are much
Well,
better.
and and the good thing is this could be total content for my show because if I lose a bunch of weight, then I can do about concealed carry changes when losing weight. So there you go.
Yes, yes.
There's another motivation.
There you go. Are you going to do anything for working out at all?
I will say probably. I mean, I would like to say I'm going to walk in the mornings, but it's so cold. I don't want to
But
go.
why don't you wait? Because anytime I've ever started anything with a company, like I did Weight Watchers and I did Jenny Craig and I did other things, and they always tell you just to wait a few weeks. Don't try to go gangbusters everything right away. Get something, like start with the diet and whatever you're going to do and make some progress there, and then you can. But especially men, have told me that the working out really helps them eat better. So just, give it a week or so, and if you're still not feeling it, maybe do a Jake challenge. Like maybe don't go out and walk, but you could do something around your house. You could get up and do a couple exercises or something. I'll send you stuff.
Okay. I just need to just chase my 2-year-old, and that'll probably be enough.
That's what my son said. My 10-year-old said, "Why don't you just chase us more? We like it when you chase us." And they're right.
That's
They're
why you
right.
just go buy Nerf swords for everybody and let's go ham.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Did your wife have any of those workout videos or anything?
Um. Oh, I'm probably. I mean, we don't have TV. We have Netflix, so
Yeah.
I'm sure, and YouTube. I'm sure all that stuff's on there. I'm sure I
It
could find it.
is. Ooh, somebody just sent me some great YouTube videos that they said that you could work out too. So
Send them
anyway,
over.
okay, okay. I'm gonna send you so much stuff you're gonna be so sick of me. I'm gonna be the one overwhelming thing because I told you just all this stuff's
Well,
overwhelming.
but I think that's good though, because again, I think for me of how I am, I need that check-in person or that motivator or that person that will give me a swift kick.
Will you come back in 2 weeks?
Absolutely. Oh, I'd love to.
Okay. So you're gonna give us an
Even if I
update.
don't even do anything, I just come on and talk with you. It's just so much fun.
You're so much fun, Nick. This is helping me, and I want people out there to hear that is really one of the biggest things. And for you too, Nick, is if you start to if you get your motivation back, which I'm starting to get mine back, one of the biggest kicks of motivation is to help somebody else, and so that you have a friend on the journey with you. So that's why our community works really well, because when somebody goes, "Hey, that was a great idea," or "Thanks for that," you're like, "Yeah, good," because normally the people in my real world, they don't want to hear it. Their eyes glaze over, like, "Oh my God, there's Carol again. She's talking about that stupid diet shit." They just don't want to. They don't want to hear it. So if somebody truly wants to hear it, or wants to ask you or anything, it really is motivating. So we would love to have more people in the community, because the chat boards, that's all it's about, is this is what I tried, this is what I didn't try, oh, I like that idea, oh, thanks, oh, here's a website you might check out, or whatever. So everybody, thank you very much, Nick, and make sure that you check in tomorrow. You're going to do our check-in challenge?
Yep. So let's go through here. So the December 1st through 6th check-in challenge.
That's just for the next 6 days, because it's
So every day you just go and just say, "Hey, I'm here."
Yep, that's all you
Okay.
have to do. But most people say, "My name's Nick," and or whatever, and then they a lot of people read through who the other people are, and what they're saying, because they might say something to you, but you're not required to read them. But there's a ton of motivation there for you if you want to read them.
Okay.
But you might have to quit your day job to read them, because some people will write so much and you just might not be able to. So, you might just read one or two posts and say something or comment on somebody else's stuff, but you're not required to. The challenge is just to check in. But if I'm giving you advice, if you want one more little piece of advice, write what you did healthy that day.
Okay.
Then that will keep you kind of accountable to do something healthy each day. Okay? Okay.
That
Okay.
sounds good.
Yeah, just say that the intermittent fasting went well today, or stayed within it so far, it's going okay. Whatever.
And I should point out too that Arturo is watching live with us.
Is
And
he?
yes, and
Hey,
send me a
Arturo.
friend request, and I got it and I accepted it, buddy. So thanks.
Awesome. Arturo is one of our. We're having a Google Hangout later this week. They're doing Hangouts now without me. Just every once in a while, people from the community get together and talk on a Google Hangout, and so there's one this Thursday night. So, he's gonna post the link in my Fitness Pal if anybody wants to join us for a Hangout. That's not part of the show. It's just a Hangout. So, yeah, we're all into this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, welcome to the dungeon. Okay.
The dungeon.
Woo! Okay. No, thanks to you, thanks to Arturo, thanks to everybody out there who's keeping the community alive even in my absence. And yeah, Jack Templin really is excited to talk to you. He's JT that does the show with me. So we'll have to do that in 2 weeks and get an update from you.
All right, it's a deal.
Okay, look for
Now I got to make sure I do it because I got
Of course you do. There are thousands of people that tune into this show, and they're absolutely going to be wondering what happened. So, and they're all going over to my Fitness Pal right now to say hello to you.
Well, here's how I'll put out my challenge is if I fall off the bandwagon within 2 weeks, which definitely not. That's a
Not an
legitimate option.
Okay.
If I fail, I want people to go on my Facebook page, on Practically Active Facebook page, and make fat memes of me and post them up there.
Oh no!
Just to motivate me. Yes.
You won't do that. And you know what? There is no failing because it's only trying right now. Remember, December is just about getting your head in the game. We're not looking to lose a bunch of weight in the next 2 weeks. We're just looking to build better habits.
But if I don't do that, they can do that.
All right. Then we'll put memes of you. Okay. All right, Nick. Well, thank you. Oh, yeah, I do need to read the wrap-up because I always forget. We appreciate everybody, again, who's listening to the show. Please, if you're an iTunes listener, please leave us a review in iTunes. That really helps the show. Yeah, send any feedback to success@fat2fithq.com. If you go to today's show notes, which are at fat2fithq.com/109, if you go into those show notes, you will find links to the MyFitnessPal community, to the Facebook page, to the Spark team, and also the Fitbit group. Nick, think about getting that Fitbit because you can compete with me for steps. It's a lot of fun, and I'm about to get one because mine messed up, and so that's something you can ask for Christmas.
Okay. How much do they cost?
About $100.
Okay.
Something like that around. Yeah. It depends how fancy you want to get with them.
Okay.
All right. I'll send you a bunch of links.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks for coming on, and you guys check out. Tell them where they can find you, please.
Oh, you can find us at practacpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook at Practically Tactical, Instagram at Practically Tactical, Twitter is Practac Show. Obviously, just search Practically Tactical on iTunes, or you're on Stitcher too, right?
Well, through the Firearms Radio Network.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
And for those listening, go give Fat2Fit HQ a ratings and Stitcher as well. That helps as well.
Oh, awesome.
But I cannot stress enough how much ratings help. Positive ratings help.
Yeah.
iTunes podcasts, especially, like the FRN network, it totally really helps.
It does help. It does. If people knew, people would take the time. I know they would. So
it literally one review can bump you up into the top 10.
I know.
Where you get a lot more viewership. So it really, really helps. So
yeah, spread the love. Thank you for asking people to do that because I always forget, and it's so important. So thanks to anybody who has left us a review and anybody who will leave us a review. Okay, and just thanks for sharing the show. We have a lot of people sharing it on Facebook and through social media, and that's super helpful as well. All right, thanks, Nick. We will talk in 2 weeks, but we will talk before then, I'm sure, through MyFitness.
Yes. Well, I'm going to get you on my show hopefully next week. So.
Oh, and I'll try to get my act together to give some better advice. I don't know. I hope I helped you in some way.
Oh, no, you didn't. Hey, I have a plan now. I didn't have a plan when I came on. I have a plan now.
Well, I want to put in the show notes some links to some people who are better resources for working out, for going in strength training and stuff like that. But again, I would always recommend Relentless Roger and the Caveman Doctor for their recommendations for how to get started with any kind of weight training and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll talk again soon. Thanks, Nick. Have a great one.
Hey, you too. Take care.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.